If you're not yet a subscriber, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and also the little bell icon so you can be alerted each and every time we make a new video. Hi everybody, Ira Miller here, the Villages Expert. Today I want to come and talk to you about if you have a home to sell, what can we do for you and what should you expect? I'm starting to get more and more inquiries about that. And so I did make a video about proof of funds letters and also pre-approval letters from a lender if you're going to do financing. But for those of you who have a home to sell and plan on paying cash for your home when you get here, from the cash you get on your home up north or wherever, you might even be here in Florida. But what I did want to talk to you about is this market in relation to having a home to sell. So let's talk about that a little bit. More and more people are coming to me and saying, hey, I'm coming down. I'm going to sell my home. It won't take very long at all to sell my home. And then I'm going to be down to buy a home. Okay, so what happens? All right, so first of all, you can't really come here before you even put your home on the market and expect to buy a home contingent upon the sale of your home, no matter how fast homes are selling in your area. A seller is going to want to see that your home is already on the market and it's listed in the MLS. And so in a normal market, I would say, okay, that's pretty much what you would need. At least have your home on the market. A better scenario would be you just got a contract on that home. Then you come here and you say, hey, I just got a contract on my home a few days ago or whatever. You want to come and buy a home here, and then you want to pay cash and you want to make you want to make a simultaneous close. You want to close on your home that you have now, and you want to close on the home that you're buying here. Okay, in a normal market, that's pretty much what we do. So we're pretty much good to go. But in this market today, and this is June 29th, 2021, this is an incredible, huge seller's market, not a buyer's market. And so what's happening now is sellers don't want to sell to somebody who has either a home to sell or has a contract or just got a contract on their home. And here's the reason why. Your home could fall through. So the seller of a home here that you would potentially put an offer in on doesn't know anything about the buyer of your home back, where you're coming from. And so that's key. That's key because let's kind of just work this out. You have a buyer of your home, and let's just say you're coming from New Jersey. You have a buyer of your home in New Jersey. Now, that buyer of your home is contingent upon financing. They're contingent upon selling their home or whatever. There's definitely a domino effect that's starting to set up here. And so in this market, a seller here who can sell their home in literally within days really doesn't want to take the chance of taking their home off the market and selling it to you when you have to sell your home or you have a contract on your home, but who knows, so then what I do as a buyer's agent, I start digging. If I was a selling agent, if I was the listing agent, then what I would do is I'd say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, tell me a little bit about the person who you have your home sold to. Are they getting financing? Are they paying cash? Are they contingent upon the sale of their home? And if it is, then what about their buyer? So you can see how that can really back up. And it could just pretty much just blow up real quick. And so, like I was saying, in today's market, a seller doesn't want to have to deal with that. All right, so how do we get around that? Well, basically, we get around it by eliminating as many obstacles as we can. All right, so what that means is, what I'm suggesting is that if you do have a contract on your home, then wait until you are all the way past through your contingencies. Now, I know people from New Jersey and New York, they use attorneys, and it usually takes about 60 days to close on a home up north. So what you need to do is you need to try to kind of wade through those contingency periods, appraisal periods, home inspection periods, finance periods that your buyer might be in on. Typically here in Florida, we have 30-day closings, okay? We work with title companies. We don't really work with attorneys, don't really need an attorney in a purchase here in Florida. And so we have two contingency periods, one on the inspection. So what happens is in the contract, in a Florida contract, we have typically a 15-day time period in which to have a home inspection and have that home inspection report sent to the selling agent. So now the seller can fix whatever is in that inspection report. So once we get through that, we don't see any major problems, major obstacles in your home inspection period. Then we have typically our next contingency that's built into the contract of a Florida FAR bar contract, they call it. That's typically 30 days. I mean, it's usually right up to closing. So a lot of things can happen. Now, one thing a lot of, I'm just going to say real estate agents in general, do not know that when a buyer or seller signs a contract and you have what is called an effective contract because both parties have signed that contract, the seller, built into the contract, the seller has a right to know where you're at in your financial contingency, in your finance approval for a mortgage. I've called buyer's lenders many times, and even the buyer's lender doesn't even know the rules. And so I'll call up a buyer's lender and I'll say, hey, I'm the selling agent and your customer is Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they're getting a loan from you. Can you tell me how that loan is going? They'll come back to me and say, oh, that's private information. I can't divulge that information to you. Not true. Not true at all, because right here in the contract, here, I'm going to show it to you. So right there in the contract that you just saw, it's built right in to where we, the seller's agent, the seller, has a right to inquire with their buyer's lender to see how that's going in the process. So going back to being a buyer, a seller has the right to inquire with your lender to see how things are going. So if there is a lender, but we're kind of talking about right now, we're talking about if you have a home to sell and you're going to come here and pay cash for a home, we have to get as close as possible to the closing of your home, so a seller has a comfort level of knowing that that most of your contingencies are over. You've already had an appraisal on your home. Your home is appraised. You've had a survey. That's clean and that's fine. If you have a septic tank on your property, then a lot of times that septic has to pass inspection. So what we need to see is we need to see a lot of those contingencies gone away before you can come here and make an offer. Now, here's the good news. A lot of homes are empty. They're vacant. And so we can come in here, and if we wait, I would say no more than 2 weeks before you close on your home, should you come here and enter into a contract. So if we tell a seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have a buyer, we have a buyer of this buyer's home. They're 2 weeks away from closing. They've had their septic inspection, it passed. They've had their appraisal, it passed. They had their home inspection, it passed. So a lot of those are out of the way. The buyer of your home, we're just waiting on their loan, if they do have a loan. If they have cash, beautiful. We're good to go. Okay, we are ready to go if you have a cash buyer. And that's one thing I would suggest to you, especially in this market. If you're coming down here to buy a home with the funds that you're getting from the sale of your home, try to get a cash buyer. Try not to enter into a contract with somebody who has to have financing, okay? If you can't do that, all right, then, what you're going to do is you're going to get a pre-approval letter from that person, or even a pre-qualification letter from that person that says they've been pre-approved. So if we get all the other contingencies out of the way, and again, appraisals, home inspections, septic inspections, surveys, get all that stuff as much as you can out of the way before you come here to purchase a home, you're a lot more likely to be able to get that home. One last thing I want to, when you come and buy here, one last thing I do want to say, please make sure when you sell your home, wherever you're coming from, you get a sizable deposit, okay? Because what's going to happen is you're going to put down a deposit on a home here. If your buyer defaults on you, let me just say this. A seller does not have to extend a closing date, okay? Nowhere in the contract does it say they have to extend a closing date. So if your buyer falls through and the sale of your home falls through, and you're like, wait, it'll only take me 2 or 3 days, or I have a backup offer or whatever, you still have to go through that whole period again before you can get to closing. Chances are a seller's not going to want to do that. They're going to say, nope, not extending the closing, next, let's go, or whatever. You want a sizable deposit on your home, because if that falls through, or if your buyer defaults, you get to keep that deposit. Well, the chances are you might lose your deposit here that you would put down on a home. You need to make sure that you're made whole from the deposit that you have on your home, okay? So the only risk is that if you have a contingency, a financial contingency that your buyer says, for whatever reason, there are reasons why a buyer will not be approved. Debt to income ratio, let's say they bought a brand new car right before closing. That is going to kill a deal, kill a mortgage quicker than anything. So if your buyer does not have a good real estate agent, and that buyer goes out and buys this car, and then they get more debt then their debt to income ratio is going to be all out of whack. They're not going to be able to get a loan based on everything they've been already approved for. So there's so many factors that go into when you're trying to buy a home here when you have to sell your home up north to pay cash. Now, let me just say this. If you're deciding you're going to go ahead and get financing, okay, when you buy a home here, that's totally different now, okay? Because now what you have to do is, since you're getting financing, that's kind of a backup, all right? So somebody who wants to pay cash doesn't want to have to suffer the closing costs of a loan, of a mortgage. They want to pay cash and eliminate those $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 closing costs when you get a loan. Okay, I see that, but some people, they're not going to get all the money out of the sale of their home. They're still financing. So if you're financing, that's a lot better scenario than if you come in here and say, hey, I'm going to pay cash for a home, but I can't pay cash for the home until my home closes wherever you're coming from. And so while it seems like, well, you're paying cash, and cash is king, is what they call it. And if it was in a totally different scenario where you didn't have to sell your home, you're coming in here with cash, we are at the top of the list, okay? So if we make an offer on a home and it's cash offer, no contingency on the sale of a home, right? Then we've eliminated financial contingencies and the fear for that seller. All we have to do is just get through the home inspection period and then get that seller to take care of whatever issues may or may not be wrong with the home that you're purchasing. So cash is king, that's number one, except if you have to sell your home first. You go from top to bottom because too many things can go wrong with the sale of your home. There's too many parties involved. You have a buyer that the seller over here has to worry about. So they have to worry about you, and then they have to worry about your buyer. And if your buyer has a buyer, then the whole apple cart is upset. So number one, cash is king. If you can come here with cash and pay for a home, we can pretty much, we're in the driver's seat when it comes to making an offer on a home. Second is if you're financing. If you're financing, okay, when you're financing, you get pre-approved, and we deal with that on a daily basis, and sellers really aren't that worried about you qualifying for a loan because you're bringing a pre-approval letter with you. You're saying, I've been pre-approved, I've already talked to my lender, I've already given my lender all the information they're looking for, except maybe you didn't give them your social security number yet, where they can run your credit. But if you know what your credit is, and they've asked you, do you have car payments? How much credit card debt do you have? Car payments do you have? What other debt do you have? And then what's your income? It's called a debt to income ratio. And the lenders have a certain mathematical figure that they go off of with a debt to income ratio. But as somebody financing, there's not that many red flags that come up for a seller. So first is cash, next is somebody getting a mortgage, and then third on the bottom of the list is if you have a home you have to sell first. So, and you're going to pay cash. Now, there could be 4 levels instead of cash, finance, and then have a home to sell and pay cash. You can have finance and getting some. Now, if you don't have to use any of the cash from the sale of your home, but you're going to get financing, okay, well, then we can kind of work with that, and we can work with the seller and say, look, they have a home to sell, but they're still getting a mortgage, and whether or not that home sells, they're going to get financing. So here's a pre-approval letter. And so we can kind of, ease their concerns quite a bit in that whole having to sell a home. So as strange as it might seem, if you have a home to sell, to pay cash for a home here and you're not financing, you're at the bottom of the list. So I've had many people say, I'm going to sell a home. It's going to take me 2 or 3 days to sell my home. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to go, I want to look for a home. Trust me, when we're selling homes in 2 or 3 days here, it's going to be very difficult. And there's usually multiple offers on homes anyways. A seller's going to have to choose who they're going to work with. And so I gave you those 4 scenarios. And if you're trying to sell a home to pay cash, you're at the bottom of the heap. We're going to have a very difficult time unless you are a week to 2 weeks away from closing on that home. That's about the best case scenario we can work with when you have a home to sell to pay cash for a home here. I'd like to see 10 days to a week, and then even closer, if we find a vacant home, we can probably close in a week on a vacant home, right? We can go ahead and tell the seller, look, my home closes in a week. We've gone through all the contingencies. There's nothing holding the closing back. Well, that will put us up higher on the list of concern for a seller. And then maybe if we have a strong offer and if we have a strong deposit, and that's why I'm telling you, make sure you get a big deposit on your home. Those are factors that can help bring our offer and make our offer stronger. So that's it. That's the whole scenario with if you have a home to sell first. So please consider everything that I've said here. And then I'm here for you. I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to find the perfect home for you. And then we can go ahead and help you get that home that you're looking for. But I just want to be clear, one last time. If you just got a contract on your home and you want to come down here and find a home and you want to tell this seller, hey, just got a contract on my home, and they know there's all these financial, all these different contract contingencies they have to go through. Any good seller's agent is going to recommend against your offer and explain why, like I just explained why to a seller. And they might even take an offer that is less than what your offer is if they don't have to deal with you waiting to see, if the sale of your home is going to go through. So I hope this was clear, and it's, and this has resolved a lot of concerns for people or people who just don't know what the market, is like right now. Now, again, in a regular market, in a normal market, a lot of those rules kind of subside a little bit, right? So if we're in a normal market where we have a lot of inventory and, so then they're much more willing to take into consideration that you have a contract on your home. I've done that hundreds of times already. So, but not right now, not in this very strong market. And I would say probably through the rest of the year. I don't have a crystal ball to let you know what the market's going to do. We just have to see if it remains a seller's market. And then if things start turning around, well, then we can, consider coming back in a earlier date into your contract on the sale of your home. All right, so that's it for now. Hopefully that was very informative and very clear for you. If you have any thoughts, any questions, any concerns of what I said, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at homesaroundthevillages@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me through my office, through Danielle, my assistant. Her number is 352-204-9026. You can call or text on that number, and feel free to make comments. If you have any questions, you can make your comments, you can make questions right here in this video. We'd love to hear from you. So, oh, one last thing. If you're not yet a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Be one of our subscribers, and also hit the little bell icon. It'll notify you each and every time I make a new video like this one. Hopefully you found this very informative and helpful. And so if you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. So again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you later.